Good day, everyone. I am Tejano Liven Ray, BSA student. I'm going to report or discuss to you the sampling designs, 5 probability sampling methods, 5 non-probability sampling methods. The 5 probability sampling methods are simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, systematic random sampling, cluster random sampling, multi-stage random sampling. The other 5 non-probability sampling methods are quota sampling, convenience sampling, purposive, self-selection, and snowball. In research, it is very important to get our sample in a population. The easiest or the simplest sampling method is the simple random sampling. Every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected to be in the sample. Randomly selected members through the use of random number generator or some means of random selection. Simple random sampling is considered to be the easiest method of probability sampling. To perform simple random sampling, all researchers must ensure that all members of the population are included in the master list, that subjects are then selected randomly from this master list. So sa simple random sampling method or probability sampling, na siya isa ka population, and in that population, the researcher selects randomly or without any precise background of their respondents. So muna siya ang simple random. It's just the easiest way. The researcher just randomly pick persons with a list. From that list, we use the number generator to select the respondents or our participants. So next is the stratified random sampling. It is also referred to as a proportional random sampling. In this sampling method, the subjects are initially grouped into different classification. It is important to note that this classification should not have any overlapping subjects. From here, researchers randomly select the final list of subjects from different defined categories to ensure a well-rounded sample. In a population composed of different peoples, those different peoples are grouped into categories. From that different categories, we can choose our sample. So diri as a stratified random sampling, dili lang siya kay mo pili lang ka o diretso sa usa ka population. Kanang atong population, ato na siya i-divide into categories. Their backgrounds, their stand or status. From that categories, in each categories, we choose so that our sample have a mixed information, or they call this a proportional. Ano siya? Dapat ang stratified random sampling. Then, we have systematic random sampling. Put every member of a population into some order, choosing a random starting point and selected every number of the sample. Systematic random sampling is often compared to the arithmetic progression in which the difference between any two consecutive numbers is the same value. So systematic random sampling, our samples, or population are numbered. So in that numbered, we systematize randomly sampled using a arithmetic sequence. In that arithmetic sequence, for example, we have numbers 1 to 100. In that number 1 to 100, we choose it arithmetically. We solve who would be the person belong to, which person belong to the sample. For example, we choose in that 100, we choose every third person selected So, whoever belongs to that number in the master list included as our sample. So the rest will be part of the population, but we choose the sample systematically. Cluster random sampling. Cluster random sampling is a probability sampling method in which you divide a population into clusters, such as districts or schools, and then randomly select from the clusters as your sample. The clusters should ideally each be mini presentations of the population as a whole. Put a population into clusters, randomly select from the clusters, and include all members from those clusters in a sample. The cluster random sampling is conducted when the size of the population is too large to perform simple random sampling. For example, if your research is all about the school performance of the whole province of Leyte, due to the large population, you need to lower or lessen the numbers of our sample. In order to do that, we use the cluster random sampling. With cluster random sampling, we divide the population into clusters. And gikan na nga clusters, we randomly select. We select kada cluster, we select kung sa or kinsa ang mapart sa atong sample na pwede na ito magamit to answer our questionnaires or our survey for our research. So, the cluster random sampling is useful for a large population. Multi-stage sampling involves a combination of two or more probability sampling methods outlined above. With more advanced research, using just one fold of probability sampling does not ensure the randomization necessary to ensure confidence in result. By combining various probability sampling techniques at various stages of research initiatives, researchers are able to maintain confidence that they are mitigating biases as much as possible. Multi-stage sampling is defined as a sampling method that divides the population into groups or clusters for conducting research. So, sa multi-stage sampling, dili lang kay usa ka sampling method ang magamit. Dili na sampling method, we use the other types of sampling method and form it into combination. For example, magamit nato rin ang pag-groups or pag-cluster, ang pag-divide. Dili na part sa research or stage or method sa sampling. Ang atong population ato siyang divide different stages. For example, the whole states. In every stage ato siyang another stage sa stage is a district. And next to the district is the village, and the simplest or the smallest the group or stage are our household. So, between those stages, we can choose what stage of sampling we do. Or in other cases, in every stage, we choose a sample so that the whole population can be part of your study, but not entirely everyone is participated. That's why we use multi-stage sampling so that the whole population can be part, but in a stages. There is a stages na magigamit. Quota sampling method is a type of non-probability sampling method. This means that elements from the population are chosen on a non-random basis, and all members of the population do not have an equal chance of being selected to be part of the sample group. Quota sampling is where you take a very tailored sample that in a proportion to the characteristic of a trade population. With proportional quota sampling, the aim is to end with a sample with the strata being studied are proportional to the population being studied. So sa quota sampling method, isa siya ka non-probability sampling method. Pasabot lang ni siya na not everyone in the population is has the equal chance to be selected. Because sa quota sampling method, for example, ang our auto study is all about specific persons ang ma-involve. Halimbawa, may study nga about lang sa mga lalaki or sa babae lang. So, gamitin niyo mo ang quota sampling method. Sa population, i-choose lang niyo mo ang kung saan mong specific na sample. So, ikana nga sample, magpasabot lang nga the other or the whole population has no equal chance to be part of the sample because you have the specific requirements or to be met of the sample. The quota sampling, the sample is chosen by the researchers in terms of the requirements needed or requirements need to met. Convenience sampling is the most common form of non-probabilistic sampling, mostly because it is misused. It is a method of collecting samples by taking samples that are conveniently located around the location or internet service. A convenience sampling is a type of non-probability sampling method where the sample is taken from a group of people easy to contact or reach. For example, standing at the mall or grocery store asking for people to answer questions would be an example of convenience sampling. Convenience sampling is simply one where the units that are selected for the inclusion in the sample are the easiest to access. So, sa convenience sampling, from the name itself, ang pinakadali lang nakuan. For example, you are a researcher, but you need to get the data as fast as you can. So, convenience sampling is the easiest way. People could buy this, what do you call this, the study online, especially now with the emergence of technology, the survey or the providing of questionnaires will be done online. So, convenience para sa researcher, kaya di na siya maghago pa para answer or sa iyang mga sample because ang iya lang mga sample or the sample nagikan sa population kaya ang iyang easy to contact lang or easy to connect. For example, imong neighbors. Muna siya example sa mga convenience sampling. Your friends na pwede mo ma-chat-chat lang. That is the example of convenience sampling. Purposive sampling, also known as judgment, selective or subjective sampling, is a sampling technique in which researcher relies on his or her own judgment when choosing members of the population to participate in the study. It is a non-probability sampling method, and it occurs when elements selected for the sample are chosen by the judgment of the researcher. Researchers often believe that they can obtain representative sample by using a sound judgment, which will result in saving time and money. Purposive sampling reflects a group of sampling techniques that rely on the judgment of the researcher when it comes to selecting a unit. So, sa purposive sampling is somewhat similar with the convenience sampling. Ang researcher, mupili lang siya sa iyang sample from the population with the purpose. Ija lang diyang judgment, ay, kani siya kay ako na siya i-appeal sa akong sample, kani siya kay muna nga perfect siya sa akong study. So, the researcher chose sample in the population with a purpose. However, sa convenience, ang iya lang easy to access. Pinakaduuli niya or pinakadali niya nga malapitan. Sa purposive sampling, mo choose sad ang atong researchers who will be part of the sample from the population. ang iyang mapili, dili na nakikipili niya because na siya purpose, na siya judgment or pag choosy muna siya ang purposive. Self-selection sampling, when the inclusion or the exclusion of sampling units is determined by whether the units themselves agree or decline to participate in the sample, either explicitly or implicitly. When survey units voluntarily include in the samples, this introduces self-selection. As a sampling strategy, self-selection sampling can be used in a wide range of research designs and research methods. For example, survey researchers may put questionnaires online and subsequently invite anyone within the particular organization to take part. Self-selection sampling is useful when we want to allow units within the various organization, for example, to choose to take part in a research on their own accord. So sa self-selection, na researcher ask people whether they willing to be participated or be included in the sample. So dili lang mo pugos sa pa-answer ang kuan kay part sa research, but nag-ask siya og permission. But if we decline ang atong sample, we proceed to the other until there's such a sample na willing to participate in their own accord. In the self-selection, I believe that it would be best na ma-use because sa self-selection, we ask people na ma-participate na di na to sila napugos, that they participate willingly in their own accord. Snowball sampling or chain refill sampling method is defined as a non-probability sampling technique in which the samples have traits that are rare to find. This is a sampling method in which existing subjects provide referrals to recruit samples required for a research study. These sampling methods involves a primary data source nominating the other potential data sources that will be able to participate in the research studies. Snowball sampling method is purely based on referrals, that is now a researchers generate sample. Kaning mga snowball samplings popular din sa mga businesses na organization. Sa snowball sampling, ikaw nga researchers kuan ka og sample, mag-pick or nakadaka ang samples, then ato imong mga nakuha na samples, mag-ask kanila or na magpa-help or something ana din katong sa uban nga refer or kanang na sila what do you call this ikuan nimo nga mga people nga pwede nimo part sa imong research or can be part in your sample. So kato na kuan is na siya referral muragi na ay nagkuan nimo nga kadto siya ka pwede rin di ba katong imong sample kay giingnan sa tong imong previously nga kuan nga mo help nimo for that research to be part of the sample. So muna siya ang sampling sa snowball method. Popular kay na siya sa mga businesses kay so imong mga business partners mukuha na siya sa other kuan related na studies. So thank you so much. That would be all for our lesson, the sampling designs. Good day everyone. I'm Liven Tejano once again, saying that life is so much brighter when you focus on what lives truly matter. Thank you so much. Have a good day.